Everyone, was informed Chachi will be a main Wakaba, edited by Grace TV. So, Jen Yanko we are saying share be live on by Grace TV as usual. Yes, you said, yeah, by Yanko what to train, Yan Yabusian for in the Abishia. Now, in somewhat a total form, I mean, all the rundown, the updates, development in Nana, you be the moon como, at the summer man sign said, yeah, is here. Of course, you know, any net day in somewhat but Tom Monten so. Na baby abefabia sabi Ghana my adishmama yetu nisre ene abasa and the latest issue and I say and someone abeto abonten so baby abefabia yedi hu komo that the lumba new watches and some yeah ne ya aputupria in him saying channel betu na ehwani mon by Grace TV the update and I say asema abeto you and say sia the Abusuapanin a file for a indefinite injunction and I say interlocutory injunction on that lumba the second funeral and as a celebration of life for a Yankopon Yadmo, a bebaso, a war a year, Bosumia Bissimo, Sabiam no Cassisi, the Yantiano, Abusuapanin a file for a year interlocutory injunction. Abusia, and simply there's more to injunction, no, Abusuapanin a final, there is more to it. And of course, a lot of development, a lot of rundown, and a free sans and seven more airban, seven doors of their air form mature with respect to sans and some can once in there. But to bossy, there's a live program once upon the two channel. Now, if you're not some number and the two money, but dear free move back. A dear development, a dear na dear chin, dear saying, as I bring a base of don't read a crutch in the abattoir, a dear some any home. What are some of the key points? You're free injunction now. Abusuapanin file against the second funeral now. By you be doing mun komo enye bufu enye ntokwas de medical canon. And of course every day make there be make say aya na aya adwentre yin na nipa baako but then asem na ba and yin na church adwen when you come join us you are welcome with your suggestion we all agree to disagree to the and the end no yin na be we asum due kwan so and so so yes you be run seminum na to your boss in kakran na your court in some in carton but then mention so say busuan tini say and someone says you Abusuapanin akoda in court nipa nine Abusuapanin at your Makujina court. Ya omona says ya and say Yankomen in Abusuapanin so omona fapim ya court at the emra edi omoa ebeboa ama bibia to be twa na se beboa ama nsem ya ebibiri wo monten so na yetu ne sere ne abasa na yekoba na nyina abebrase na aboa ama asumdwi aba nipa nine no yebedi omu na ho kobo and afei court on some kata na kra na edie be na Abusuapanin eka wom and as edie na Abusuapanin ehwe edie free court was a court enye emfa eman you be running them near bebusa what are the possibilities say court the injunction be Abusuapanin and say bia on fama no na nyina ye de munchimo ene emu amanebo asoma mansan said the CTN this straight away we share on your screens abre abusua the that's what abre no court on some kata no yes that's what abre near court in some kata no it was a plaintiff no you can say plaintiff nipa no dey asem akodan court no ono ene was straw one no and nipa nan ya sabi dey asem akodan court no atwi omo e dey omo akogina court no omo so na omo din and as omo asem enso go echi ono nti your plaintiffs no ene ye wo defendant no the kind so the medical can was no that nipa no asem sorry I'm not kase odi asem akogina court which is Abusuapanin Kofi Wusu ne ho asem na down no nipa nine be na sabe Abusuapanin atwe akogina court searching na court enhwe na on fata bonto omo so said e be ya sabi omo nkoye second funeral bia na say omo nkoye celebration of life bia nipa nine no first defendant the nipa odi kan ya Abusuapanin na akogina court ye ma me Akosua Serwaa on the first defendant yes Abraham no kase Abusuapanin atwe no na akogina court enti o hwa on say ma me akoy the irem wase and that evidence no o hwa ma me Akosua Serwaa and as Abraham your first defendant now your first defendant na as usual ye de akogina court na wo say ne ho asem and so on ti Akosua Serwaa fosu yes the kind here Abusuapanin Kofi Wusu house number AH there bu akokumase ono ne ho asem and no one here plenty for the asem na court and defendants on also be on one no the first defendant no maame Akosua Serwaa fosu Schwester Eleanor's Germany for the Schwester MLN's work 9 Bonham Shetem 53332 Germany one of your first defendants the first defendant no second defendant and also Abusuapanin na kogina court I was also said ho born in same no also boa ejina court in same no Robert Jemfi na ye kasa Robert Jemfi abusua ɔno ane yɛ nyinaa yɛ wɔfa Yapoku ɔno nso abusuapanyin ɛde n'akɔ akɔgyina court bi sɛ ɔno nso ho behia sɛ saa nsɛm a ɛkɔ so ɛnam fa wɔn yi ɔno nso wɔtwa ka wɔn ti court ɛntwene bɛgyina adaka mu na afei wɔn nyinaa nso court edi asɛm no bi ɛfa wɔn ho na mu ama biribi anyɛ pɛpɛɛpɛ na mu ama asomdwe mmra nti ɔfa Yapoku abusua ɔno na saa abia no kasa deɛ ɔyɛ second defendant yɛ ɔno nso yɛde n'akɔgyina court third defendant nipa baako nso ka ɔmo yɛtɔ so mmiɛnsa yɛ sɛbi abusuapanyin ɛde ɔno nso akɔgyina court ɛyɛ maame Akosua Serwaa ɛyɛ maame Ernestine Afosu. Let's not forget say ɛnano dwade ya na yɛ maame Akosua Serwaa ɛde krata aba abɔnten ano ɔkyerɛ sɛ o ɛma obi a bibi aha no san sɛ yɛ ne deɛ yɛ dan yɛ bɛba so wɔn mo yɛ ntoyɛ ne ateɛ ɛna 2 days after Wednesday ya san sɛ court krata ne free court ba no da yɛatwɛ wɔ so date yɛahyɛ no ɛyɛ that is the 18th of February so ɛyɛ nano okua da ya etwa mu ya ɛne da court ahyɛ sɛbio sɛdeɛ ho nsɛm kakra ɛnso esi ɛte nti abusua that is it kakra yɛ free mo ɛba ɛno no nti afei yɛnto yɛbo ase na yɛnwura nsɛm no bi yɛ ɛna the fourth defendant no ɛyɛ Nana Yaw Akosa Papashi ɔno yɛ fourth defendant Nana Yaw Akosa anaasɛ Papashi ɔno ɛna ɔno nso yɛ fourth defendant ɛfa nsɛnsɛm wɔ yɛ asabram no kase ɔno nso egyina ɛyɛ court na onim sɛ abusua yɛ ka nsɛm wɔ nyinaa ɛbɔ mu a abusua panyin kɔ court no nsɛm bi wɔ hɔ a ɔhwɛ deɛ free court wɔ sɛ court ɛnyɛ ma no na sɛ na kɔma so adeɛ yɛ a ɔsɛ court ɛnyɛ ma no ɛno ɛyɛ bɛɛ sɛ nso ɛna afei wɔde baako aka ho sɛ court nsia na wɔde baako aka ho sɛ baako no yɛ deɛ court hwɛ a ebi a ɔyɛ bɛbɔ ebi a court ɛmfa ma kwan so na wɔnyɛ nti wonim wɔde without wasting much time na abusua ka me ho saa abere ho na yɛnwura mu na yɛnhwɛ deɛ court ɛka ankasa anaasɛ deɛ ɔsɛ court sɛ court ɛnyɛ ɛmfa ɛma no okay. So yeah, call the next slide now. I will inform you. Okay, yes, statement of claim no. And the was you know the empty of was the measure statement of claim there. Nana SRS court. Any man or the better of was yanking kind in nafi. Yatin 7 and yes, on your screen right now, a statement of claim. Sabi I'm not gonna say there. That Accra High Court Abusuapanin say the court ebiti na my man. The kind of say. Opesa court kɔ bankrom na court agye tum sɛ ɔno plaintiff ɔde asɛm abɛdan court no ɔno na yɛ abusuapanyin ɛde ma ɛkoɔ na ade hyɛ abusua yɛ wɔ paako so ɛne nsuta na ɔno asɛ koɔ na ade hyɛ abusuapanyin no ɔno koɔ na wɔ saa tumi sɛ mesrɛ ka ho ɔwɔ tumi yɛ obi ani saa tumi bi ɔno wɔ the exclusive authority sɛ obetumi ayɛ yie ɛto anamon bi ahyehyɛ bibia fata glomba ne sie ansa na yie nyinaa ho Tienam so no kwa na eye abusuapanyin a owo saa tumi nti no sempo obi to na mo bi saa court no enhwe na ni mo animu ya onfa tabo nto ni pakoro ya otu saa na mo bi saa so san say obi ani that tumi no na say obi ani that right no say obi to na mo bi etesa nti ntempa osre court say court nti ase na onfa injunction and to bibia so esan say so obi beye ana obi beto na mo bi saa anampo obi be hyehye eye bi dia fada dumba ho a I just say no na ama to me no but as it stands now even himself try say ono ma to me no but the immediate family any be a mama Akosua Serwaa one say omo ya asade no na enam say ono nka ho bi ntino court emfatabo ento so eno ye baako first one no and afi wasa ba kire nsem baako mu say ono o kan obi ate say that lumba yi na ye dada yes abuso tie that lumba yi no ya ye dada no ye no 13th December 2025 Kumasi Baba Sports Stadium and the end say that lumba ye that antino se koba se obi nso ba se o ba be celebration of life bi e di ama that the lumba na eya ko hadwe person say wa kan amamre ni amane mu no sebi I say a declaration that the burial and funeral ceremony held on 13th December 2025 constituted the final and valid funeral rite of the deceased and the Akan customary law. Na say o chem say that the lumba yi ya ye dada ntino enam say ye 30th December and no ye ba akopɛ ye the final funeral rite ye ntini kwan say obi say akɔ bibiem o Akan for me no ye a ye wi ti bibia ni hono bi enti court enhwɛ no so no mo kan wasɛm no ye ba akɔ and then also o say ka bibi say a declaration that the defendant's proposed celebration of life events scheduled for 28th and 29th of March 2026 is unlawful, unauthorized, and customary in a can customary law. Now say, and I'm saying, yeah, in that entity, a coba say, you be 2 and I be before you say celebration of life. Yeah, no, yeah, in kind 28th and 29th of March. You be kind or ma hon kwan. And I'm not cross yin to I was telling you, or ma hon kwan. And now cross and to and I feel say account for my muno and I say account for my name no. And also etia is answer account for my no ye nya yi prenu. Ti no so ye baako to say court na yin tum sa no na court moa e ma ne sa eno ye baako. And I what was be say Osre court pass a court enfer an order of perpetual injunction restraining the defendant, their agents, assigns, or privies from organizing, performing, advertising, facilitating, or holding any further funeral, burial, or celebration of life ceremony in respect of the late Charles Kojofusi without the express consent and authority of the plaintiff. Tinipa na yama bom ni. Eye mama Akosua Serwaa of Ayapuku, mama Akosua Bempoma, and afi eye papa shi. Court never tabon to say nipa na yi so. Anampo say nipa bia sa nipa na yi betu omo so mutu na mo bia mo omo emfa fata dum be yen no. Court never tabon to say nipa na yi omo nkofo bia obeka so mutu na mo bia mo omo so. Esan say omo need to me say was omo go ahead na omo koye bibia te santi no court emfa tabon en to say nipa ya ka omo semina enso eno so ye baako said ya etie. And then also it was be and I watch say nti ya de tabo to omo so a that means obia ne tumi so ba kwa bibia sa nti ne ye de to omo so a ombeda di and I say and omo to bia nkoso nti ye de to omo so a say ye de ato ayi ne so no because say omo na etu wana mo nhye ka wansem ti ye mfa to omo so ye de to omo so a obia ntimi kutu na mo bia na say ne asem de na asem ko eno so ye baako and I feel also to so bi mu a o chim say obusati ha ne ye pa o ha ne hia mo say an order of interim and or interlocutory injunction pending the final determination of this suit, restraining the defendant from proceeding with the advertised event scheduled for March 2026 or any similar event. Let's say, or perhaps a court to back some maybe. Court ground for tabon to a year nipa nine defendant is so. And will be biara. Ya on your moya joins to say be always court grand young for tabu bia my court grand young for injunction bia my desire. We can go ahead and plan with the was here, you know. And I'm say court. Sabi enyam fa bibia sa amant. Omo say court pa say. Na court enhye say opem so obi bo asam na bi hu say court injunction or dey ma and so on fa ma. E mo obi an go ahead with any preparations na bibia sa because obeka ya ye na court 13 December. Answer kra na Accra High Court be bo asam on Friday no. Thursday na preparations e koso baba Heroes Park den ye ko e di mama na ebo na beso. So they say court, confirm so court club bu asem. Onfa injunction to bibia fa ye no hye ne ho anamonto no bibia so. Se the be ya omo en to anamon bia e men kodu onye se wo ye to ho anamonto ne ye kwa akoye ye no. Eno so ye baako. And then also o say ha ati ha ne yo ha ne hia me pa. O say court kran san fa tabo en to sabi. Enipa nan yi so. Anyone ya kai na so ye be ya Omo enkoje donation bia na omo solicit for emwa and I sika bia free amansan ho say omo beye that no beye ti ni o man kan bro for unity say an order restraining the defendant from soliciting or receiving donations from the public in the name of organizing any funeral or memorial ceremony for the deceased as a court on fatabo and to omo nyina so say beye enkoba say oh ye beye that no beye no bi kwa say mba be boa say and say mo nyina mo fanya ntutu ya and kwa court ensi an kwan ti say obi anya kwanya bia say obi mpo pese obeboa export that number ya if akọ na ba beboa because court it fa injunction to nyina so say donation kwa mo obi ye emfa ema defendant and I say enipa ye come wan see me eno so ye baako and after there just be a cost and legal affairs na there no so one seminar and so on. And then also, after also any further order that this honorable court made in the court no so share now the big can who be more a beboa and also on one on yen sandy kata we ankasa if the baba jama chambers lawyer form jamo Abusuapanin and almost trace our kata ya of the court but kata we don't train no on the 16th of February 2026. Juada ye twam ya. On say Mami Akosua report so kata no ba bonten Juada na. Ti as we dey coincidence pa. Ti Juada no e no mo twere sa kata e de ba say o ma koma so ade ni. The almost free court near moment court and money me a court on fatabo and to so and to a year na so be bia enkoso. And aside that no afei Abusuapanin sa nchiremu bi dan court. Say be a court, I mean the background of the story. Say be a court be nyan sem no nchiremu yi ebeten sem no asiye e ho anamontu a say be bibia ye fa that lumba any watching sem no ho any baby and sem no free any baby akwakoju and also Abusuapanin di nchiremu kakra dan court. What the yenhwe no so nsem kakra. Na yentie explanation and say briefing kakra Abusuapanin the ma court with respect to same way. Na yentie ase ye. Sha ase free explanation sha ase free baby asem sha ase de bedu baby ase break kuma say high court kan de bedu ye. Ene ne dey am no ka say okay. Baby aye do until the mama yen fa no so and to why is it na yenhwe and also the Abusua ayehwe the every the Accra High Court on na yemfa no so nsem and some amansan. Okay, so Abusua I think say na why. Okay, good. Yen room na fe yen hwe no so the Accra ta no kan na yemfa and some amansan mfa Accra. Okay. Enti ewa Okay, yes, I think it's here. It's right here. Okay. Tiensha same free I say. Aha. Yeah, was on your screen right now. O share screen is also abria. The daso na etwa gusi abri. Eye afin chemu kakra Abusuapanin the ekodom court. In chemu kakra Abusuapanin the adom court with respect to and someone waka se court enye man no ene emunchemu ene the court ya beboa. Ti the bi kan or the nchemu kakra kodom court. I know my background of the story. And I waka bibi say okay, starting I'll say Abusua. I need very some key points are him here I'll say the plaintiff or no the asana kodan court no one na here head of the family on na here Abusua no eti bechere e corner the Abusua e wo free park so and stand now no e the Abusuapanin and no the yes that is true be him say na Abusuapanin on na here Abusuapanin and after what Sabeka be say it also me no or my background kakra I say the first defendant was pronounced as one of the customary wives of the late Charles Kojofosu, aka that Lumba. Until James said, yeah, Mami Akosua Serwaa, you're your first defendant now. On the court to say, or can I hear no more? Yeah, no, see, I hear it. Yeah, court Jenny to me say, or you hear it. Oh, that Lumba, he don't back. One of the wives said, yeah, or Jim, I broke Kumasi High Court Boasem, according to Mami Tim for her ladyship, Mrs. Dorinda Smith Arthur, in a judgment dated on 28th November 2026. Or just one also, or you hear it. Yeah, said the court I can never Japan chair or cat and two lawyers or my court in Chimugaka. And I was actually being said. Second defendant of Ayapoku ye Eken Busuano or a member of the family. And also in Chimugaka or the Academy Court. And of course, and of Ayapoku is a member of the family. And of course, about was being said. The third defendant, Yamami Akosua Serwaa, or not see a member of the family. Yeah, or ordinary resident. Yes, or Germany abridgment, and also a barco. And that it was be more and some of our catcher court in the dorsal. And see a king kind you can bob so earlier on in our video no. But I think all the habits in the rundown if you bring who be here. That's the BPR and so I boko right. And see I think we no. And also it was be a church in Simon or Case to watch you be about Wakama Akosua Serwaa. And I'll say the fourth defendant, the fourth defendant is a self-styled evangelist who publicly holds himself out as an agent, spokesperson, or representative of the other defendant in respect of the suits, in respect of the acts complained of here. And say, Papa, she, Sempakeni, self-styled evangelist, or no, about Bontin, or Okasa. Edema Abusuafo no okasa edema defendant me say Mami Akosua Serwaa of Ayapoku and then also Mami Akosua Serwaa but no dey yin nim say Abusua and now ya na character free Mami Akosua Serwaa obai and character free obai no ka wo mu say ono na wayi Omo na maka wo mayi papa she say on kasa mfa ma omo because of say dodo na omo ni Ghana ha say eno nti e na amana kobasa eno ye baako. And after what has been on say TNO or say the plaintiff averts that the late Charles Kojo Fusu was an internationally acclaimed Ghanaian musician and a royal member of the Ekwana royal family of Pakoso and in Sudan. Say that Lumba, yeah, I can say me. A Sebi or you be a or you to need see na wiase na agene tum na mu way adis or can this year ye free Ekwana adis busia or Pakoso in Sudan Ekwana and a crown say agitum sanity. And I thought also be say the plaintiff averts that the late that Lumba passed away on the 26th of July 2025 at the Bank Hospital in the Greater Accra region of Ghana. I know see no correct. That Lumba on the 26th of July. Our Bank Hospital, Accra. I know see no correct. Yet also people also say the plaintiff averts that due to the internationally recognized stature of the late that Lumba, a funeral planning committee was duly instituted, comprising the third defendant, other members of the Corner family, a representative of wives, musical institutions, and traditional authorities, among others. Ochimu say, Sabi, and as that number in Pakasi na autonomy did a trade to a Yamediano, and for a funeral committee, and the Enchimob is a trade the court. Funeral committee no na eka or one account be near and to four, Sabi, if we are seeing a geomatum, musical institutions, and paying for Kahon, Afe, Nanamat Kunya. Ebi no maka committee no ho and also baako after just be more say not third defendant na one you go back at third defendant no ma me Akosua Abrempoma tell so when chese funeral committee no ma me Akosua Abrempoma e ka ho bi afei abusuafo e corner abudi busua nipa no bi ka ho bi na also representative of the wives they say on the because of say Kumasi High Court bo say ma me Akosua Serwaa na afei ye nia Odobroni na say ma me Odobroni o wi na aye de no monti no when chese funeral committee na maame Akosua Serwaa esi anamu eka ho bi na Odobroni so maame Odobroni so esi anamu ono so eka ho bi e funeral committee no emu said dia esi etie ene mpanyefo na matenko yenya na ka ho bi ni na ye nchebo Abusuapanin e de edan court afei all to ansem na so no kan o chem so the plaintiff averts that prior to the funeral and burial of the late Daddy Lumba, the first defendant instituted an action at the High Court Kumasi, seeking, among other reliefs, an injunction to restrain the plaintiff as head of family from organizing the burial and funeral rites of the deceased. Nese, in Chemo de Banese, Empokano, Ansana na eyeni ba bekoso, ewo Kumasi hano. Sabi, ye maame Akosua Serwaa your first defendant no e de kodan court say court emfa tabo ento aye so injunction to aye so afa ye ni ho hyehye ene mo na mo to nyina said ya esi etie yes of course bibi say akoso ye to aso bi mu an say mo obo so nyina de kodan court na me pese ye to ebo ase na ye nya mu nchemu ye say be beti nsem na ase enwa bi ansem na sha ase free ene be bi ase si am no kase ababedru and probably what we are all to expect agenya nkopon ya atomwa at the end of same way na after already a court and so be can't was your back and after what side to us be no say I was also be no say the plaintiff averts that in the injunctive ruling delivered on 30th October 2025 the High Court Kumasi dismissed the injunctive application and affirmed the plaintiff's authority to organize, supervise and approve all funeral and burial processes of the deceased. That's what Chim said. Yeah, High Court knows what they can do. Asem back one son of a aye de no so. What they can do say, Sabi, our can mammy will be woo a busuafo led by Abusuapanin, and a what a money to me. And the Abusuapanin card at court say, Accra High Court say, Empo, Yama me Akosua Serwaa and send me called court. Emma court a bois de ma no Abusuapanin say, so be in Yamedia, I hear Abusuapanin or the Abusuan or no. And what to me? So two and a moon beyond what to me. So ye be a fata. And the fan nipa corner ye won't share anyone among two in our own or carry a chair court say. I know the court will boa the amount that so only cross out to me no. Yeah, sefata. So turn and I won't to be a yeah, it is anti court and so and so on. I know your barco. And after all, I to also be saying the third defendant. Or map processing someone called from a chassis, able to be a chair court. And also be him say the third defendant invoked the sacred oath of the Asantine and summoned the plaintiff before the Asantine tribunal The Asantuma Tribunal equally affirmed the plaintiff's authority to organize and supervise the funeral and burial rites of the deceased. Next, say, Abraham and Mr. Mika, Mammy Akosua Serwaa, Sabio, and then Tom Kessie and Mr. Mika. They call him in our car, Kratanum, and some of the Kodan Portno. Said, yeah, is it? I'm not just say, import, and I'm cry. A kind money could be say, or no, was a penny, what to me. Say, to an amount be a fata, at the fat that lumber, a year won't know. Sabi, court. Kumasi High Court man is out to me now. 20 others from Akodan Court no. Kumasi High Court affirm no. Man is out to me no. Said their etie. And afei Accra High Court so okay ya chom say. And I'm say Kumasi High Court bua man no. Na mpo kɔ na nanom anim say the crack and chair. Kɔ na nanom anim. Na nanom so chair say oh Ono Abusuapanin na nanom affirm according to Abusuapanin. Na nanom affirm and say and I'm so want to hear the family heritage no. Ono na wo to me so to anamon bia yeah, fair here no share any identity or can one court briefing kakra a fan same way na and so said yes yet here. And after what was being Obeka we say the plaintiff averts that acting on the recommendations of the funeral planning committee, Asantuma Tribunal, and under his authority, supervision and direction as head of the family, the final burial and funeral rites of the late Dad Lumba were duly performed on 13th December 2025 at the Baba Ara Sports Stadium, Kumasi, after which the deceased was buried in accordance with the customary law as a royal. And say, and I'm saying the court to boy and an so a cast on the Abusuapanin to me no. Sabi, 13th December, no, yeah, said the we see no said the account for any money and so AC at the end to here, you know, it one among be a fata with respect to Akan customs and culture, with respect to Akan traditions. And our year and our year BPR said, yeah, a say na efata and so honum. And our year said, not by this year. So any said, yeah, royal, yeah, the amo be or this year, royal said, yeah, AC at year. And after what was being over, we said, the plaintiff averts that the burial and funeral held on 13 December were publicly announced and widely attended by family members, traditional rulers. Next, or can you see some mobility as I say? And I'm certain by edition to an morning now say, yeah, this year be a year, and that's why you be said the employee see no or see and said this year, said you see this year. No, so pepe and our year until you assembly be our car. And after it also be the final part, no, and someone and I can and I was okay, see me found on soon to so now. Share on so kakra. Yes, na bibia enye boko na entin sem wasi. But on the okama court that say that the lumba this year. Yin na enim. Na so this year ntino. Na ye mu hihye na ye mu na montu nyina no oye no. Said the ya this year this year na that lumba. And then posa che say the see mu mpo no. Omo see that lumba say this year. Said the amamre ni amane enso esitie. Enti na ye nsem waka wakata no. And o che say na ye no mo bo ho dawro. Plenty of averts that the burial and funeral held on 13 December were publicly announced and widely attended by family members, traditional rulers, national and international dignitaries, musicians, friends, and members of the general public. That's what I said. That number you don't born the rule. Emma Abusuafoɔ kyɛ sɛ adɔfoɔ wɔn mu anyɔmtofoɔ akɛse ahwehwɛ rule afei nipa mpem me free man Ghana ha nipa titiri yɛ free man Ghana ha ne ama ahodoɔ so nyinaa bae ɛbɛka ho bi bɛtɛ akyire. Emma BPA ɛkɔ so asomdwe kwan so ɛno nso yɛ sɛm a ɔka ɛde akyerɛ court no ɛna afɔ ɔsan aka bibi sɛ the plaintiff averts that the children of the deceased were present at the said funeral to honor their father. The first defendant refused or neglected to attend despite due notice and notwithstanding that her name appeared in the obituary as a witness. Sabi ɔsan so ka de kyerɛ court sɛ money nyinaa buy and money nyinaa that no money nyinaa buy yɛ ni bi. And so first defendant, Akosua Serwaa, or just say, wow, ma, a year no. A woman said, that would name say, ye, because that way, ma, and I'll feel grano. A year won't cut on me in ano. I didn't bear, say, Sabi, and so, or cardiac check out, say, wow, ma, when see one po. Tell us, and some will be able to penny at the Aquacodan court. And some of the doors were like, and some of the Aquacodan court, no. A dorsal pa Nina matter was ya, may kind of Marco on a dorsal, but in your share, but no so near Chompe, near go to the crana, Yashredit here. Now, what's about the plaintiff averts that the funeral and burial of the late Lumba as a royal were successful and widely covered by both local and international media and remain matters of public record. That's what come court as you say that number na ye mu hihye na ye mu ntutie ane de course bia no ni na course waso dwie kwan so ni na ye jojo ni na ye from sadia esi etie ya ene edawo na wiase na di hu adanse na ebeye nkaidum edi ama amansan because ogidi ye pa say na ye that number ye course no ni na ye bokko ni na eya asumpi etie kura no papa shi yewura abosome we a ewo mu ye abosome mu na emu ana wo hya ase e ka ho nsem de chairman say na say that lumba na yi e ba be so e da say na say da say de I see etie enti no so ya de a o ka de a chere court no say court enti no wonti na so pem na ni na mwa na court take an informed decision and so e wo honom afei o say the plaintiff affirms further that this second funeral the plaintiff affirms that this second funeral event, that the celebration of life is scheduled to take place on the 28th and 29th of March 2026 without the consent, approval, or authorization of the plaintiff as head of family. Let's say, or Kadacha court say, Sana Montuya Sabi, defendant here to or no as head of the family, no, Obian Kashi in no, or no as head of the family, no, Onim Hoshe, and to say, you can say Bassa. Esan se wono na ye Abusuapanin ya na monto bia sa akwa bekoso a it should be under his watch, it should be under his permission and abeboa man simbisa enso akoso. But unfortunately Okadia Chair Court say despite bibia no the ekoso nyina onim ho hwe ya obia enka bibia sa emfa enche no so court enhwe na won pɛ ho asɛm enka emfa ema no. And then again, I come 2 pence or boss nine for the number. Where they pass a briefing. I own that thing. Someone said there is it. And I thought also be him say the plaintiff affirms that the defendant's announcement to organize the funeral event on 28th March and 29th March is without consultation. I thought say can be say empo kwana ye mu a o chese on be no obuto na mo nyina no o man ka bibia amfa nche Odobroni Omun can be bia and chill Odobroni. Omun ye Odobroni agent tre at the first second funeral na ebe bas no because Odobroni so ye according to Kumasi High Court. Abusuapanin chere say so which one among big class I was a mo ji ono so agent tre and I say mo ne come and cross to tie some pa mo ye bibi sa na so ntel trebi but unfortunately bibia sound course so na ko ba dey say na so di ya pa and so hono mo a enye asem ketwa afei yet also be no say omun ka bibia nche no ne manso omun ka hwenche na ko basa tadlu ba manso omun nim hwe efa yie hu ntia ko basa na omu bu akan amamre ni amane enimtia said their ACT. And after almost I told you say the plaintiff affirms that the defendant's actions are calculated to mislead the public and solicit donations from unsuspecting and well-meaning Ghanaians under the false impression that the disease has not yet been given a final funeral or purport to honor the disease. Let's say the woman say, Sabi observe when the catcher court say, any part nine, ya me defendant here almost almost ye. Omo say, Oma pekwan bi so pese, Omo discovery fi Ghana for the omo cabin shame, Nanka the game no pen, no person pekwan bi so. As solicited for funds, the free of honum, nti, and ama Sabi and among 2 way, and also air coso, said their ACT, yeah, they want some air some more. And now finally, what Chum say, the plaintiff affirms that under account customary law, the right and duty to organize the funeral rites of a deceased family member vest exclusively in the larger family led by the head of the family, and that any attempt by the defendant to organize another funeral constitutes a direct affront to his authority. That's all say. Or can I call that yes, say, I can, amamre ni amani mono. A fair year bia one shishaye, a year bia one amontuno, bia bekoso, a fair year one. I am not to me no, sabi, I can amamre ni amani mono. Ekura Abusuapanin enti se ko base enne ya mena okase obi kotu na mo bisa ewa abra on consult to Abusuapanin ewa abra on tie de Abusuapanin eka ewa abra onye Abusuapanin nsam hira na etia ya kan for ya mamre ni amane no nti e na osre court pa se omo hwe nsem we nyina na omo fatabo ento eye no asabi ebeba so nyame adma match no nti abusua that is it. This is the sum of science am akoso na nti abusua pani how no bi ya odi akodan court no say Odobroni obi anka ahwenkyere no say obeda de number second funeral and also say empo and am say Odobroni so yere no say obi betu na monto bi sa ni yie mu anka efe say obeji Odobroni so nsem say bia na so obeji Odobroni so ahwenkyere efe yie ne hye but then reports ne say obi anka ahwe emfa enche Odobroni nti Odobroni so nim ho hwe and eba saa na omo ye no so ye Abusuapanin no onim ho hwe and ni nyina so ha atwe nti se saa de a C0urt enti ase na won fa tabo ento eye nso ko pem say court be bu asem na wi na se court bu an ka so mo nkoye de a so be it omo ni hwe ka omo betumi akọ na omo akoye omo yi but akoba se bi court be wi na omo akwan court be wi na onyi ntumu a sana ebesi aye said ya esi eti ndi abusua ebre ne nkrabia na ebetwere said ya esi eti ndi edi nsem na chi the better form bia ebesan ba na ye de anonso mu nchemu enso ade aba besom amansan said ya esi eti ndi mesre say let's cross fingers and say there are interesting times ahead, especially with respect to science and same way and so but it's when you say no more na bibia and so enye asumji said ya is yet because ni na nyame asem and some the more ya because I know say Abusuapanin was on record and I can't say oh so munya ye no wie that is 13th December ne de wi a wa pese oye bibia no obetimi akwakoye but yenim suddenly yenim de bia aba all of a sudden say asesa say yempene ema obi anya bibia sa but I think nyina agina court no nti court no kasa wi a ana ebe ho bibia so swan the body ho no ebe fa so let us cross fingers na yehwe the court ebe kan but the thing ma me Akosua Serwaa the point na kujina court yeah, defendant of Ayapoku Abusuapanin in court. Afei nyo ya kunko mama ya report na kujina court na afei papa shinso Abusuapanin edi ono nso akujina court. Abusua ewiye no ene beche with a quick one and yes ya panya bedi nkomo. Yi na yatin se wase with that so de bre na wo hwe bre pam ye behia nyame kan ho makra. Bye bye.